The Green Line LRT is still alive, with a majority of City Council voting last night to start building a southeast section of track. The plan also requires further study for how an elevated train line would weave through downtown. Mayor Jyoti Gondek voted against the plan that ultimately passed, saying the elevated line won't work downtown, and she's worried about the city assuming all the financial risk for the project following months of delay. Mayor Gondek is on the line now. Good morning.
Good morning, Lauren.
Thank you for doing this. So we will get to your objections specifically in a moment, but can you just first make it clear to listeners what the actual train line is that the city is proposing to build as of last night's vote?
I can tell you what was before us and what we voted on. As a matter of fact, we split the vote. I agreed that we should be building the south leg of the LRT because we have a great design in place. We know what the cost estimates are. But I did not agree that we should be doing an elevated line through downtown. So really, it was a two-part decision. Are we going to go south? And the majority of folks voted yes. And should we do downtown as elevated? Also passed, although for me, it's incredibly unfortunate. So those were the two things that were before us.
Okay. And they were packaged together. So essentially, just to be clear, Shepherd in the southeast to roughly where the new arena will be is on?
Yes.
Now, okay, so let's get into your objections then. We've talked about it before, but in terms of the proposal that was in front of you last night, why couldn't you agree to it?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the fact that I did a lot of work to get the province back to the table after they said on September 3rd that they were terminating their support for the Green Line. This is a project that I've been advocating for years. So I tried a Hail Mary pass. We got them back to the table to try to salvage what we could.
What was the Hail Mary pass? Are you talking about an invitation to talk, or was there more to it?
After the letter on September 3rd, I reached out to Minister and Premier a couple of times. I tried for about 2 weeks to say, you will lose everything that's already in place if we don't try to figure this out. And they agreed. We had a couple of meetings, and then we turned those meetings into a working group, and we all agreed that we should build the south leg. The problem was downtown. So we agreed to letting them build some sort of a solution and bring us a report. We all remember that in December, we got this ACOM report, which showed an elevated line through downtown, but it was incomplete. It was only at 5% design. And after that report landed, it was radio silence for weeks. So I had to reach out to Minister again in early January to kickstart the working group. And we had conversations again about what we were going to do. We expressed our concerns about the level of risk, the level of financial responsibility that would land on the city, and the detrimental impacts of a downtown elevated line that would basically decimate our core. When I left the last working group meeting, there was agreement, once again, let's move forward on the south, and let's build a business case that says we'll investigate what's next for downtown. And then at 9:15 p.m. this past Friday, the province went back to doing what it always does, and it issued an ultimatum saying that it had to be elevated or nothing. So it's incredibly disappointing that you try to work with a partner who just gets a whim of an idea in their head and will not let it go, even when the facts are saying elevated is a very bad idea. So that's why my decision yesterday was to move south, but not to support an elevated line downtown.
One of your council colleagues, Sonia Sharp, said she agrees that the downtown section needs a lot of work. Of course, you've got the planning at 5%, which means there's a long ways to go. I think Councillor Sharp said it's not ready for prime time. And if there are better solutions, those will come up during more study of the downtown. Do you have a hope, or do you agree with that characterization that, with as much planning as there is to do, there's still hope for your vision of how it might move through downtown?
Well, I think it's interesting that members of council who voted against our own alignment in July are now suddenly in favor of something that's not even cooked. It's only at 5% design. So for all of their arguments that this will prove itself out, I want them to remember what is in the draft business case that's been put before us. It is clearly stated in that business case that the line must be elevated. And that's not something I can abide by. If go out and you actually talk to people at Michael's Pizza and Bottle Screw Bills and Alberta Boot Company, they'll tell you it'll destroy their businesses. But my colleagues haven't bothered to talk to them. The province hasn't bothered to talk to them. So you're going to destroy livelihoods. You're going to create unsafe conditions. And there is not even a chance that this is going to come in at the budget that the province has proposed in their 5% design.
The characterization of, the Hail Mary that you brought people to the table and the frustration I'm hearing that you have with some of your council colleagues, would I just acknowledge that this is in the context of a looming election? Would you have voted differently if you were not running for re-election?
My job right now is to complete my term. And in the 4-year term that I was given by electors in Calgary, I work for them every day. And I will tell you this, it's my fiduciary responsibility to the corporation as well as to the taxpayers of this city to make decisions that are in their best interest. To hand over a blank check to this provincial government and say, please do whatever you wish to, and we'll take it, is an irresponsible act. We are going to blaze a swath of destruction through our downtown. We're going to destabilize our property values and jeopardize our economy at a time that we know that tariffs are coming. I can't do that to Calgarians.
What does this current plan do for ridership in contrast to the most recent or previous iteration of the line?
I think we have to remember that every good line starts somewhere. And so there are various stages that need to start before the whole thing can be built. So this is now a matter of building the easiest part, which is the south, versus the most difficult part, which is what we said in July. Let's build the core, let's get the tough stuff out of the way, and then we can move south and eventually north as well. So, we're in a situation where we are going to be providing transit service for riders in the south, which is great, but it's terminating at where the event center will be. So really, for a province that argued this is a line to nowhere, they're actually creating a line to nowhere. There's no connectivity until we get the downtown figured out.
The province has changed its positioning on this over time. We've established that. How confident are you in the province's position as you now provide a business case that they will submit to the feds? And we cannot ignore the federal government. There's tons of change there. How confident are you that, that whatever has been approved by council last night has a chance with these two important funders?
I'm confident that there will be more twists and turns in the road ahead of us.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in 2018, things stalled out with the Kenney government. In 2020, when we had excellent recommendations about the Green Line, Minister McIver said, hold on, let's take a pause. They reviewed our work for a year and came back and said, yeah, this is good. We've had all of these pauses now. I don't have a lot of faith that we will move ahead quickly. I think there's going to be more obstacles along the way. And frankly, it's going to be to everyone's detriment.
What's your confidence in the federal money?
I had a very good conversation with Minister Erskine Smith yesterday morning. I told him that we have to have a shared vision on this and that we have to get a project going. He agreed. I believe he was going to try to reach out to the provincial government. So from what I can tell in my conversations, it is a priority project for the federal government as well.
All right. We'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you, Mayor.
Hey, thanks for having me on.